This is Jets at Noon with Cameron Poitras and Jim Toth on 680 CJOB.
I'm back, baby. How's it going? Back a couple days in Calgary, doing World of Wheels out there.
Don't call it a comeback. He's been here for years.
I didn't go anywhere.
I thought you were going to come in.
I did go somewhere technically, but now I'm back.
I thought you were going to come into how you were warming up. My name is Cam Rock. Bang, bang,
the bang, diggy, diggy, diggy.
Yeah.
Kid Rock looked great in the Oval Office. I don't want to get into it, but he looked great. I just want to say that.
If he was anywhere else, he would look great.
He's the only guy that could pull that off.
That's an outstanding suit if you're anywhere but the Oval Office.
See, there's like, what's that one where he samples Sad But True?
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, I forget what song that is, but there's text it if you know what I'm talking about. 204-780-6868. But he comes in and he's just wearing like it was like a feathered scarf.
Yeah.
And he's like wearing a fur coat, but it's just like the sleeves, very short. He's wearing leather and he's got his hat on, the sunglasses, and he's just huge Harley. Snakeskin boots, 65 Chevelle, singing, hey, hey. I'm like, that Kid Rock is cool, man.
He is cool, and it's personally, I find it disappointing.
This is just your opinion.
Yeah, just my opinion. Nobody else's or represents the station at all. However, the internet won again when they showed him in his outfit beside the president and said, somebody let President Zelensky know this is how you dress when you go to because they made fun of a president who was at war, literally, for the way he dressed at the White House, and then Kid Rock showed up in his clown costume, and that was acceptable. That's how you dress to meet the president.
204-780-6868. Jets and Noon is brought to you by Wash Method Car Wash, 690 St. Anne's Road. VIP on the text line wins a VIP car wash with our good friends at Wash Method, 204-780-6868. Rock Roll Jesus is one of my all-time favorites. Like my top five, that album. Yeah. That whole album, top to front, like top five. Regardless, you have to put sometimes, listen, I don't get into the politics stuff. Like I'm a big System of a Down fan and I love Kid Rock. And those two bands could not be on separate. They are so far away from each other politically, Rage Against the Machine and that kind of stuff. You get sometimes, for me at least, when you talk about music, you got to put stuff aside because you got to, it's about the artist sometimes. But that's just my opinion. You might disagree with me.
I still love the music.
And you might want to tell me 204-780-6868.
I still love the music, but now I just have to listen to it in the basement with the drapes closed. And
here's something, Jim Toth, that might that surprised
me.
By the way. Thank you very much. Daryl Evans is going to be with us. Ice-Side LA Kings Analyst going to be joining us. Friend of the program. Looking forward to his chat. Of course, the Jets and Kings tonight. Pregame gets going at 5. Puck drop after 9:30. So it's a late one tonight.
What are you going to do, Cam?
Oh,
going to forge through?
6 pots of coffee.
6 pots of coffee, a couple Red Bulls.
Yeah, a couple of those.
Some rock and roll Jesus in the background. Let's do this. Let's watch this game because I got to get up at 4 a.m.
That's right. And Kelly Moore, listen, this is an extremely complicated, like I tried a couple of free-for-all Fridays ago, and I got it right into the weeds, and I got this guy calling me, telling me this. No, it's this, it's that. Kelly Moore went through the whole shebang here with the Jets' actual magic number with Dallas on a 9-game point streak, 6-game winning streak, all that stuff. So we're going to get to that. I'll tell you what the Winnipeg Jets really do need to control. They do have control over this situation themselves, but they have to collect a certain amount of points. And I got that point total, and I'll get it to you before the show is up, maybe even in the next segment. But this is the big news of the day in the hockey world. The NHL and Rogers agreeing to a new Canadian television broadcast deal worth $7.7 billion. It's over $11 billion Canadian, according to multiple reports. With one season remaining on Rogers' current rights deal, the media giant negotiated, this is the article from the Hockey News, negotiated another 12-year deal with the NHL. Sportico first reported on Monday. The Associated Press and Globe and Mail also reported the agreement, which hasn't been officially announced. Rogers hasn't commented on the report. Sportico reported owners would vote on this agreement this week. NHL and Rogers agreed on the current 12-year deal in 2023 for $5.2 billion Canadian. And it lasts through 2025, 2026 before the new deal kicks in. So this is a lot of money. It's over double year over year what they were paying before. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, my first initial thought, and I was talking to Loren McNabb, the manager, talking here at CGOB, and the first thing that comes into our minds, working on this side of the mic, is the amount of people that are going to get laid off in Rogers to make this deal happen, because that's what happened last time, Jim. But what are your thoughts on this? Having said that, I still believe this is a really, really good thing for teams like the Winnipeg Jets. Like if you're looking at it from an organizational NHL standpoint, of course this is a win. You're making a lot more money. So this is good for the Winnipeg Jets in the revenue side. But for people in our industry, my initial thought is this is not a good thing.
It's good for the league. It's good for the owners. It's $11 billion that obviously
good for the players.
Shows how healthy it is, and the cap going up. Good for the players. Everything. It's. I don't think it's going to be good for Rogers. Last time, and this is, I'm going to do a segment on this. Tyson Rowicki did an interview with an expert on deals like this, and I'm going to Tyson asked him, did the $5 billion deal in the previous TV deal make money? And I don't know how you can. And back when this original deal that Sportsnet got it and took it from TSN, when that happened, I remember talking to an expert of media from the States, and they said the reason ESPN works. Now, ESPN has had a ton of cutbacks like every media as well. But the reason ESPN works is for every city like St. Louis or Kansas City and stuff like that lose money, there's the New Yorks, the Bostons, the Miamis, the Los Angeleses that make money, right?
Yeah.
There's, I forget, but however many major cities, 37 major cities or 43 that have ESPN in them, 10 can lose money because there's a majority that make money and can offset that. Canada's not that big. Mm-hmm. And Canada doesn't have, like, if 2 or 3 centers like Winnipeg, and I mean, Winnipeg's a prime example of how tough it is to make money. The population just isn't here.
Yeah.
And so to get, viewership and advertising dollars and all that to make this. So I felt the day it was signed by Rogers Sportsnet that they're not going to be able to recoup $5 billion. And I kind of got it at the time because the other expert I had is what Rogers is banking on is that people are going to watch games on their phone. So they're going to buy a Rogers phone. They're going to watch it on their iPad while they're riding the subway in Toronto or the LRT in Calgary. And they're going to watch it on their iPad and take in a game. Mm-hmm. That's not how people watch hockey.
Yeah, and they at least know going into this that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and so you can text us because I'm sure there are some people there, but the majority of fans, if they're not at home or or have the radio on, they don't dial up a game. Now, I say that, and I watched the Astros opening game on my phone while my 12-year-old was at his or 13-year-old was at his hockey wind-up. I caught half an hour of the game, and then I turned it off, and I had to go pick them up.
How many games are you catching like that versus how many you're watching?
I'm
on
always
the couch?
doing it on my laptop or on my couch.
Yeah.
My point to this is, if don't have the time to sit down and watch a game, I don't watch. I listen, or if I don't listen. Yeah. So I think they were banking on, we're going to sell a ton of iPads, sell a ton of cell phones. That's going to offset because people are going to buy the package and they're going to put it on their phones. I just don't know if that happened. That's why we're going to have an expert on. Mm-hmm. So to double this, I don't know. But you are correct in the media. When they signed that deal, the cuts came heavy and hard after that.
Yeah.
They went down to the bone. And to the point of their product suffered. And to me, and I know I'm biased because I'm in the industry, but the product matters. Quality product matters. And I would think that you, the listeners, can let us know too. But if you don't have a good product, people aren't going to pay attention to it. If it's not presented well, what are we doing with the prime games on Monday? We're hearing right, left, and center from our listeners who go, I watched the game and I liked it. I liked the way they did this, and I liked the way they did the intermission, and I liked this.
I like the prime games.
I didn't like that commentator, but I like that commentator. Like we hear. So to me, I don't know. Like I'm not obviously a multi-billionaire. I don't have a company. I'm not a businessman. If they feel they can make this work, then power to them. But I have a really good inclination and some insight that says the first deal did not work. I don't think, my point to this, Cam, it cost them over $5 billion for the last deal. I don't know if they netted $6 billion.
So the question is, then they're essentially doubling down then.
So what they want is they want the entity. They want what you do make money on is all the other shows. All the other shows you have that people pay attention to because the games are there.
I think that because they sold the Monday night games to Prime already. I think that by buying this, it could be something that they flip. Like, okay, hey, listen, it's not working. We're definitely going to keep Saturday night because Saturday night, Hockey Night Canada still does well. But they might be able to say to Prime, hey, we already have the rights. They've already done this. Could they sell Wednesday night hockey? Could they sell Monday night? Could they sell parts of this to other organizations and other streaming services? That's what I see. I don't see that more streaming. In 12 years' time, do you think that all these games are going to be held by Rogers and the Prime is not going to get a bigger foothold on this?
Well, and I would think you'd have to get that approved. Like you can't buy the rights to an entity like the NHL and then off-sell it yourself unless the NHL signs off on it. You can't, even though you have the rights to their product, you can't just start selling off their product because you have you have to get that approved.
These would be the questions that are going to be asked, right? Yeah. Because we're still waiting for the details. Rogers isn't commenting on this, as reported by several, like Associated Press, Globe and Mail, Sportico, the Hockey News. They're all on this right now. And the owners are apparently going to vote this week, and then we'll learn more about this. But I can't imagine that this isn't a part of it. Real quick, Jim,
I'll tell you this real quick, is when Bell lost the rights, everybody thought doom and gloom, and they made money. They didn't have a check going out for the rights. And their insider trading and their all that stuff, like their shows that they sell. So it was kind of like we don't have a big check going out the door every year, and we're making money on the shows we have. They continued with their hockey shows. Well,
let's take a break. Let's come back after this. I'll tell you exactly why this is such a big week for the Winnipeg Jets. And I'm so sick of the Dallas Stars. 9-game point streak, 6-game winning streak. The Jets have won 3 in a row, and the Jets have not been played. They've been played really well lately. But the Stars are hot on their tail, Jim. I mean, I think this is still better, though, because there's added tension with 8 games left. Like, there's still reason to play. I'd rather have Dallas be licking on the Jets' tail here than not. But we'll give you the exact total, the exact magic number when we come back.
It's a magic number. Magic Man.
680 CJOB.
Well, I got to give Kelly Moore, CJOB's Kelly Moore. He did all the work on this, but he sent me us a text this morning. He goes, "Hey boys, the Jets' actual magic number for clinching ahead of Dallas is 6.5 or 119 points. As it stands right now, the Jets would not own the first tiebreaker in regulation wins because of those 3 OT decisions versus Seattle, Edmonton, and Washington, while the Stars have rattled off 6 straight regulation wins. There are many variables, but if both teams were to be tied at 118, and I will say this again, there are many variables that can happen over the final 8 games for these two teams. But if the teams were to be tied 118, the Stars, if things would keep going, they would get the nod because they could potentially have 48 regulation wins compared to Winnipeg's 46. They're going to keep monitoring on this, but best to go with 6.5 magic number or 119 points.
Well, and why this is a big week, Cam, is because Dallas has, now that they beat Seattle last night, they have Pittsburgh, Nashville, and Minnesota at home and then in Minnesota.
And then look who the Jets have.
And the Jets have the Kings, Vegas, and Utah. They need to get points this week. Like, they need to get wins, hopefully, but they need to get a point off Vegas. They need to get a point off the Kings.
This is a big week, and Kelly continues. He says they'll need to get at least a win or a loser point or 2 tonight and Thursday to prevent the Stars from moving into top spot by Sunday night. It's possible because Kelly adds, I don't expect Dallas to lose at home to Nashville or Pittsburgh or Mini on Sunday afternoon. Just as you said there, Jim Toth. We'll be right back. Oh, it's a late game tonight. 9:30 puck drop, just after 9:30 here on 680 CJOB. Morning skate doesn't start till 1 o'clock. So, Jim, you'll be helping us out with that later on.
Yeah, about 1:45, I'll run down the news from practice. And Chris Drieger's there. Eric Comrie and his wife expecting.
Jared Anderson-Dolan also. Kapari back in protocol. So, 2 call-ups from the Manitoba Moose. Don't expect we'll see them, but just a quick note there, and a big game for the Winnipeg Jets as well as their opponents. Joined by the Ice-Side LA Kings analyst Daryl Evans, friend of the program. Daryl, how you doing?
I'm great, guys. How are we doing today?
Excellent,
wonderful,
sir.
Doing wonderful.
By the way, your suit on Saturday night, Daryl, was just outstanding. They all are outstanding, but that suit on Saturday really made my eyes pop.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
How important is tonight's game for the LA Kings?
Well, it's a big game. I mean, they're all important right now. I mean, there's, you're getting down to the nitty gritty. You're jockeying for position, and right now the Kings are in a battle for second spot in the Pacific with the Edmonton Oilers. It's almost inevitable that they're going to be playing against each other in the first round, but the Kings are looking to change things up a little bit, and that would be getting home ice advantage. So I think these games here remaining are very important for the Kings to be able to find themselves in the number 2 spot.
They're playing well right now too, right, Daryl?
Yeah, they are. They're playing some solid hockey. I know they lost the game against Toronto the other day. It's a game that could have gone either way. Put a stop to a 15-game point home streak, the best in franchise history, and it was a game that could have gone either way. The Kings were leading in the third period, and for the first time this year, they actually lost the game in regulation, leading in the third. So, they're playing solid hockey. They're getting good goaltending. Their power play's starting to come around. Kuzmenko's made a big difference in that regard. And they're getting some depth scoring. They're getting some different guys finding the score sheet. Deneau's scoring a little bit more. Trevor Moore's scoring more. And Kempe continues to do what he's doing. So it's a pretty well-balanced hockey club, and that's what it's going to have to take to be a great Jets team that's playing solid hockey and have been all year.
And Daryl, it's just the Kings once again leading on defense. This is what they do. This is what they do best.
Yeah, they do. And, that's been the backbone of the hockey club for probably about the last 15 years or so. It's got to start with good defense, got to start between the pipes. They have the luxury of having a goaltender like Jonathan Quick for so long, and then Darcy Kemper now has done a great job along with David Riddick. He trusts his team's systems. The players in front of him do a great job at, keeping the sight lines clear when they can and stepping into the shooting lanes and block some shots when they can. Their shot suppression, number 2 in the league in shots against, so that starts there. And I think that just goes to show you how much that everybody buys into playing defense when you look at that, how few shots they allow, and that results in the goals against as well.
Mason Appleton mentioned that on our 680 CJOB postgame show on Sunday after they beat the Canucks about the road trip and said, well, Los Angeles is probably not going to be very exciting for everybody, but it's the way they play and it's the way we play. So don't expect a lot of high scoring. How much has Darcy Kemper meant to that? Like, I think he's kind of a great story in that, Pierre-Luc Dubois came to LA, didn't work out, and it kind of like, well, we got to get rid of Dubois, and then Kemper comes over and he's won a Stanley Cup. Like, how good has he been this year? And is it an untold story, at least maybe elsewhere other than Los Angeles, of just how good he's been?
No, he's been really solid. You can't say enough about the way that he's played. I remember one of my first conversations with him after he was reacquired by the Kings. This is his second time around with the team, and he said he was really happy coming back. He felt like he was coming back home. He was very familiar with the way the Kings play. He said the structure that they play with is a goaltender's dream. They're very predictable. And I think that showed in the way that he's performed this year. He's done a great job at, making the initial saves, doesn't give up a lot of rebounds, and there's great communication between he and his, not only the defense, but the forwards as well. So he's thriving right now. He's playing really well. He's playing big. He's giving the team a chance each and every night that he's in there, and that's all you can ask of a goaltender. So it's been kind of a little bit of a rebirth for him. Everybody thought he might be on the downside of things, but Darcy Kemper showing no signs of that. He looks great out there, and he's loving where he's at and the guys that he's playing in front of.
Yeah, and the Kings strong down the middle. Philippe Deneau, Anze Kopitar, and Quentin Byfield. What's his development been like in the middle of the ice?
Yeah, it's just been continual development for him. I know in the past couple of years we've seen glimpses of it. I think one thing that we can say this year, and with regards to his development, it's more consistent. I know when the games go to overtime now, he's the first one over the boards for the Kings in the extra period. His skating ability, he's got 3 of the Kings' 4 overtime goals this year, and they've all been beautiful goals. He's starting to really, get a good grasp of the league, the opponents that he's playing against, and let's face it, he's got a great mentor in front of him that he's been playing with or behind for the last couple of years in Anze Kopitar. So he's learning to play the game the right way, and he's really rounding out to a complete 200-foot player, utilizing his size, his shot, and I think that's where his statistics reflect it. But even more importantly, the trust that he's got from the coaching staff. They'll put him up against the opposition's top players, and he enjoys that challenge. So he's blossoming nicely. I don't think we've seen his ceiling yet. I still think there's a long way to go, but the Kings are liking what they're seeing right now.
I know there's a game and 2 weeks left here, Daryl, but what would it be? I know the Kings probably aren't looking forward ahead at all, but what are your thoughts on a potential playoff with the Edmonton Oilers again and for the 4th year in a row and what that would resonate like within Los Angeles? Are they sick of the Oilers? Do they care, or do they look at it as maybe this is a time to redeem themselves?
Yeah, they've been looking at that, that redemption for the last couple of years. I personally, I'm a guy that likes to start on the road, but I think because of the Kings, the way they performed at home this year, I think that home ice might be a big difference for them. They just seem to have something a little bit special when they're on home ice. I think when you look at when Rob Blake and upper management, Luke Robitaille, ownership, when they looked at last year's team and try to find a way to make the team better coming into this season, they didn't go after the high-priced free agents, the flashy type of players. They went around and picked up some glue players. Joel Edmondson, Stanley Cup champ, Darcy Kemper in net. He became part of that. Tanner Jeannot, the physicality that he brought. And then Warren Fogle, who's set a career high in goals and points this year for the Kings, all the playoff experience he's had over the last few years. So they've made some adjustments in the players that they brought in. I think they brought in glue players. It's brought everybody together. And then the young players are starting to emerge a little bit. Again, we talked about Byfield. LaFerriere's done a great job. Jordan Spence, Brant Clark back in the blue line, bringing a little bit more creativity in that regard. Mikey Anderson maturing. So it's a well-balanced hockey club, and I think they're in a better position to take on the Oilers this year.
Why do you think it's better to start on the road?
I just think when you go into a playoff series, there's more pressure upon the home team to win right off the bat, because if you don't win them both at home, all of a sudden you've surrendered home ice advantage. So I love starting on the road.
Yeah. That's an interesting perspective. We talk about that all the time.
We did talk about that. If you can go on the road and get a split, the advantage totally goes. Like, you don't have to win both, but if you can get a split, the advantage really goes to you.
Yep, and that's all you have to do. And this Kings team has been a great road team too over the years. I know this year the road record's not as as good as it would like to be, but I think some of it has to do with scheduling, the way it worked out. Like the beginning of the year, they played a lot of road games. And with that, they were still making adjustments, embracing the new players that they brought in, system changes that they made under, with Jim Hiller. And I think they've settled in a little bit better. So I think if that schedule is to be replayed now with the state the team's in right now, I think that road record would be much more improved. But, when you go back in 2012 and when they won their Stanley Cup, they were 10-1 on the road that year. So they're a good road team, and they'll find a way to get it going here down the stretch and into the playoffs.
Yeah, it was an awkward schedule for the Kings. I mean, they had long home stands with big breaks between games, and it definitely was there were some awkward times there.
The Kings had 5 home games this week. Yeah. 5 home games in 8 days.
That's ridiculous. It's crazy. And just to go back to your point about 27-4-4. I mean, there's got to be some confidence there. So, I take your opinion on starting on the road. I'm starting to lean that way too as well, Daryl. In some respects, I mean, you're always going to want to finish ahead. It's just the way things are. But
so it'll be shocking tonight when the Jets beat them, Daryl. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But that's part of the challenge. But that's part of the challenge to tonight's game, right? Is just how good they've been at home, and the Jets need to solidify this race, and so do the Kings. Like, it's a great time of the year, other than playoff time. This is a great part of it.
Oh yeah, this is. I mean, aside from being the same, being in the playoffs, these games there's a lot at stake here, and it's that caliber of hockey that you're seeing. Like you say, the Jets are looking, to come in here and they're trying to beat the Kings for the first time this season. The Kings want to defend what they've done on home ice, and it should be a hell of a hockey game. Number 1 and 2 teams defensively in the NHL. With Winnipeg 2.32 goals against and Kings 2.51. So. Probably a lot of people anticipating that it's going to be, a 2-1, 3-2 game, but who knows what we'll see out there. There's a lot of offense on both sides, and I think it's going to be an entertaining game. It's going to have some pace to it. I think there's going to be some physicality and some edge to it, but I think it'll be a well-played game.
Daryl Evans, Ice-Side LA Kings analyst, joining us. Daryl, always a pleasure. You take care, okay? Enjoy the final little bit in the playoffs.
Have a great day, and we'll best of luck to you guys, and maybe we'll catch up later on down the road.
Yeah, hopefully we do that. It'd be a great playoff series. All the best, Daryl. Thanks.
Yes, it would. All right. Stay well. Bye now.
204-780-6868. Daryl's such a nice guy. 204-780-6868. Send us your VIP text. You're going to win yourself a VIP car wash from our good friends at Wash Method, the most romantic place in southern Manitoba, perhaps Western Canada, perhaps the world. I mean, we haven't tested that out yet, but it might be up there.
That's a fair comment. I've never been to northern Manitoba, but I might be the whole province. I don't know. There's some romance up north, though.
There's got to be some. Yeah. There's got to be some. Let's take a break. Let's come. Well, you know what? Let's talk. What do you think about tonight's game?
I think it's a tough test. Like to the point of Kelly Moore doing the work on the magic number and stuff. Like, I think when there was 10 games left going into the weekend, Dallas had 2 of the next 9 games against non-playoff or against playoff teams. 2 of 9. The Jets have 6 of against playoff teams. But I think this is good for the Jets, right? Like, I think they need to. I mean, the Vancouver game's a prime example. They weren't in sync out of the gate in the first period. They didn't have a lot of execution. They found a way to win, right? And then you look at the Washington game last week. I think the Jets need this. I think the Jets need to have some competition here to keep it dialed in, keep the consistency. But that being said, it's going to be tough. Like this whole week, including Utah, I could see some 3-2, 4-2 games that could go either way. So it's really imperative the Jets bring their A game and get some points here. The Jets, you have to take care of your own business.
They got to get, in this road trip, they got to get 5 or 6 points. I think they have to get 5.
I think they have to get 4.
Yeah.
But how that comes is they can get a couple overtime, hopefully get an overtime win and stuff and whatnot. But they've got to solidify. I think it's fair to say 4 of 6 points here because Dallas has Pittsburgh, Nashville. Their backup goalie Casey DeSmith just won a game in Seattle, so Artinger's going to get some games here. And
he was in. I was in Calgary and I was watching them play against the Flames. DeSmith was in. He was great.
Yeah,
he stopped like 45 pucks or something.
And I still think Comrie gets the Saturday game if he's with the team. And hopefully they had their child by now and everything's going well there. I don't know, but I mean, I think he gets a game on Saturday.
All right, honey, see you later. I gotta go back to work. Yeah, that's what it's like in the NHL. Not for us, not for guys like us.
Even in radio, you get 2 weeks off when you have a child. Right? Even in radio,
not the NHL. But I can't be the only guy sitting on my phone like in the morning, waking up and like checking the scores and stuff like I do.
I watched that Dallas game. I'm seeing
Dallas just going lose.
You know what?
Lose, and they won't lose.
Like Dallas is. I mean, Seattle took the early lead in that game right out of the gate, like a minute in. And then Wyatt Johnston, 5 goals in 5 games. He's on a heater. And then they just sort of get another one right after that. And then the whole game just becomes back and forth for 2 periods. It was 2-1 into the 3rd period. And then this is a very good team, right? But again, I think the Jets need that challenge. It doesn't.
I'm with you.
I don't have the fear like I have in years past, where as Murat said on the pregame on Sunday, the numbers under the hood look much better than they ever have. Team won 50 games last year. They won 50 games this year, but the analytics and the depth of this team and the lack of high danger chances and all that, I have more confidence in this team now than. My point is, going into this week, it's tough.
Yeah.
But I think this is a good team, right? I think they can go toe to toe with these teams.
Let's take a break. Let's come back. Let's give away that car wash from our good friends at Wash Method. We'll name the
Wash
VIP
Method
text of the show here. And get your text messages, 204-780-6868. Be right back.
CJOB.
Well, Herb, this isn't the winning text, but it's a text of note. As we give away our VIP
of impact
car wash from Wash Method, 690 St. Anne's Road. Herb says, when that multicolored soap gets sprayed on your vehicle at Wash Method, it's similar to the Northern Lights.
Yeah,
Herb.
it is.
That is.
I once came out and I thought did I drive to Churchill?
There's, in other cultures, to have a child under the Northern Lights brings good luck. So there you go. Wash Method.
In other cultures, and I'm not encouraging this because I think it's illegal, but to conceive a child at Wash Method brings it good luck. It means it's a baby of passion.
But just don't do it. It's illegal.
Don't do it. It's illegal. But let's move on. Let's quickly.
Kim has
romance has been lost.
Kim texts the show. This is the winning text message. Thank you so much, Kim, for this one.
Sorry to Justin and everyone at Wash Method. Do not attempt this. Only attempt that at home. Just think about Wash Method. That's all you need to do. Just think about it. The idea is to get it and then race home for the romance.
That's right.
That's what I should have said.
Kim texts the show. The winning text says, oh my gosh, guys, should the Jets look at tanking now because Daryl's logic about liking it better to start on the road? We beat Nashville when we had to win 4 on the road in 2018. That one from Kim.
We can judge this all we want, but if you win your first 2 games at home, go on the road, well, then there you go.
Yeah, exactly.
And the whiteout and everything. But like last year, when you split at home, then you go to Colorado and you just have to win that third one.
And you got 2 games, right?
Yeah. I've always said at this point of how much parity there is in the league, the main advantage of home ice is Game 7. Mm-hmm. You want to be at home for Game 7, and you want to be, what you can. I do think that there's less emphasis on the first 4 games.
Yeah.
But again,
you just don't want to get behind.
If you had a choice, you would choose it, but it's not a huge margin that I don't go into any series anymore going, oh no, we're at home.
I always thought it was interesting when you did because to cut down on travel, you'd have some teams would do, you'd play 2 home, 3 on the road, and then you'd come back for 2 to cut down on travel in some series. And I'm like, oh, I'd almost rather play away to have game 3, 4, and 5. This just coming in from Ken Weeb. He's there in LA. Eric Comrie is on the ice this morning for the Jet skate. So are Connor Hellebuck and Chris Drieger. Hellebuck going through his usual starting routine. Jared Anderson-Dolan also on the ice. He's been recalled as forward insurance. So that's interesting.
So Comrie is there.
He is there, but so is Drieger. So who knows what's going on there. But
what's interesting is the Comries live in California in the off season, right?
Yeah, they do, yeah.
So now he's in California, but they're having the baby here. And if they would have planned it better, LA General Hospital, you have your baby, you go to the game.
Jim Toth will take you all the way till 2 o'clock.
Fly home with the baby on Sunday.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey Fortier, for producing the show. I'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy the game tonight. Broadcast starts at 7. Jets, Kings. See ya.